You think you can run?
Please, don't you beg you want.
It's too late.
Please, Adoma, no. I'm begging you. You thought you could come back here after what you did? Forgive me.
Hello, welcome to Echoes of the Baobab Tree. Kindly subscribe to the channel and give us a like. Let's continue the story. The machete gleamed under the afternoon sun as Adoma held it high above her head, her eyes fixed on the man cowering before her. Kwame stretched his hands forward, begging, his expensive city clothes now torn and dirty from falling in the mud. Please, Adoma. Please don't kill me, he screamed, his voice cracking like a dry twig. The whole village of Aburi had gathered in a circle around them. Mothers held their children close. Old men shook their heads slowly. Everyone watched as the village girl they had seen cry for 2 years now stood with the power of 1,000 ancestors flowing through her veins. 2 years, Kwame, Adoma said, her voice low and steady like a river moving deep underground. 2 years you made me wait. 2 years you promised me marriage. And then you dumped me like rubbish on the roadside. The scar on her left cheek, the one Kwame had given her when he pushed her down on his last visit, seemed to burn red in the sunlight. Kwame looked at the machete. He looked at her eyes. And what he saw there made him wet himself like a baby. But the biggest shock was not the machete. It was what happened next. Adoma's body began to glow. A soft light first, then brighter and brighter until people had to shield their eyes. Her feet lifted off the ground, just slightly, just enough for everyone to see that something impossible was happening. The village elders fell to their knees. The ancestors had not spoken like this in over 100 years. Kwame opened his mouth to scream, but no sound came out. And then, just as suddenly as it started, everything stopped. The light vanished. Adoma's feet touched the ground. She lowered the machete slowly. But the question burning in everyone's mind was this: had the ancestors truly returned to claim their daughter? And what would they do to the man who had broken her heart? Let us go back 2 years and 7 months, to the day when this story truly began. It was a hot Tuesday morning in March 2022 when Kwame first came to Aburi. He arrived in a yellow taxi that kicked up red dust as it stopped near the village market. Kwame stepped out wearing shiny black shoes and sunglasses, looking around at the mud houses and dirt paths like he had landed on another planet. He was a city boy from Accra, working as a government surveyor. The government had sent him to map out some land near the village. He was supposed to stay for only 2 weeks. Adoma was at the market that day, selling groundnuts by the roadside like she did every morning. She was 18 years old, with skin the color of dark honey and eyes that smiled even when her mouth was quiet. Her mother had died when she was small, and she lived with her blind grandmother in a small house at the edge of the village. When Kwame walked past her stall, he stopped. He took off his sunglasses and looked at her for a long moment. "You are the most beautiful girl I have seen since coming to this village," he said. Adoma looked down, her cheeks burning. Village girls did not talk to strange men. But something about Kwame's boldness made her heart beat faster. That evening, Kwame returned to the market. He bought all her groundnuts and paid double the price. "Keep the change," he said with a smile that showed perfect white teeth. Adoma's grandmother had always told her to be careful of city men. "They come with sweet words and leave with broken hearts," the old woman would say. But Adoma was young, and Kwame's attention made her feel special in a way she had never felt before. Over the next 2 weeks, Kwame came to her stall every day. He told her about Accra, about the tall buildings that touched the clouds, about the ocean that roared like 1,000 lions, about the restaurants where you could eat food from all over the world. Adoma listened with wide eyes. She had never left Aburi. The biggest thing that had ever happened in her life was when the traveling preacher came through once a year. "You deserve more than this village," Kwame told her one evening as the sun set orange and red behind the baobab trees. "You deserve to see the world. And I want to show it to you." On his last day in Aburi, Kwame pulled Adoma aside behind the market. I have to go back to Accra tomorrow, he said. Adoma's heart dropped into her stomach. She had known this day would come, but she had pushed it away, pretending it wouldn't happen. But I will come back, Kwame continued. I will come back for you. I want to marry you, Adoma. I want you to be my wife. Adoma's breath caught in her throat. Mary. You want to marry me? I promise, Kwame said, taking her hands in his. I promise on my mother's life. Give me some time to set things up in the city, to find us a place to live. Then I will come back, and we will be together forever. Adoma ran home that evening and told her grandmother everything. The old woman was quiet for a long time. Promises are like the morning mist, the grandmother finally said. They look beautiful, but they disappear when the sun rises. But Adoma was too happy to listen. She had been chosen. A city man wanted to marry her. She spent that night dreaming of Accra. Kwame returned to Aburi 1 month later, just as he promised. He came with gifts, a new dress for Adoma, cloth for her grandmother, and money for the village elders. I have good news, he announced to everyone gathered under the big mango tree. I have spoken to my family in Accra. They are happy for me to marry Adoma. But I must return to the city to prepare everything. The wedding will be big, I promise you. The villagers clapped and cheered. Adoma's grandmother sat quietly at the back, her blind eyes staring at nothing. Another month passed. Then 2 months. Kwame sent letters through travelers passing through Aburi. In each letter, he promised he was coming soon. There was work to finish. A house to prepare. Money to save. Adoma read each letter 10 times, 20 times. She kept them under her pillow and slept with them close to her heart. By the time 1 year had passed, some villagers began to talk. That city boy is not coming back, they whispered in the market. He has found someone else in Accra, others agreed. Adoma heard these words, but she refused to believe them. She showed everyone the letters. She pointed to Kwame's promises written in his own hand. He loves me, she told anyone who would listen. He will come back. But deep in her heart, a small seed of doubt had begun to grow. The letters were coming less often now. The promises were shorter. Sometimes the paper looked wrinkled, like it had been wet. Adoma told herself it was rain. She did not want to think about tears. The 2nd year was the hardest. Kwame stopped writing completely. Adoma spent her days at the market, but now she did not smile. She sold her groundnuts with empty eyes, watching the road that led to Accra, waiting for a yellow taxi that never came. Her grandmother grew sicker. The money from Kwame's first visit had run out. Some nights they went to bed without eating. He is not coming, my child, the grandmother said one evening, her voice weak with sickness. You must let him go. But Adoma could not let go. She had given Kwame her heart, her hope, her future. Without those things, what was left? Then, on a hot afternoon in September 2024, a yellow taxi appeared on the road from Accra. Adoma was at home, boiling cassava for her grandmother's dinner. When she heard the sound of the taxi, she dropped the pot and ran outside so fast that water splashed on her feet and burned them. She did not feel the pain. The taxi stopped. The door opened. Kwame stepped out. But he was not alone. A woman followed him out of the taxi. A city woman with straightened hair and red shoes and a gold chain around her neck. The woman held Kwame's arm and looked around the village with her nose turned up, like she smelled something bad. Adoma stopped running. Her feet froze to the ground. Kwame saw her. For just 1 second, something passed across his face, shame, maybe, or sadness. Then it was gone. Adoma, he said flatly. This is Ifya. My wife. The words hit Adoma like stones. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. We got married in Accra 3 months ago, Kwame continued. I came to tell you in person. I did not want you to wait anymore. Adoma's legs gave way. She fell to her knees in the dust. The whole village had gathered again, just like they would gather many months later for what happened next. But today they gathered to watch her heart break. You promised, she whispered. You promised to marry me. Kwame looked away. Things change. I am sorry. His new wife pulled his arm. Can we go now? This place is giving me a headache. As they turned to leave, Adoma found her voice. 2 years, she screamed. I waited for you for 2 years. I believed you. I loved you. Kwame did not turn around. He got back in the taxi with his new wife and drove away, leaving Adoma in the dust with her broken heart and her dead dreams. That night, Adoma sat alone behind her grandmother's house, staring at the moon. Her grandmother had fallen into a deep sleep and would not wake up. The village women had come to help, but there was nothing they could do. The old woman was dying. Adoma felt something building inside her. A pressure. A heat. It started in her chest and spread through her body like fire. Why? She screamed at the sky. Why did he do this to me? Why did you let him? The ancestors had not spoken to anyone in Aburi for over 100 years. The old shrines had fallen into ruin. The old ways had been forgotten. But that night, in her moment of greatest pain, Adoma heard a voice. Not with her ears, but inside her head. Deep. Old. Powerful. Daughter, we have heard your cry. We have seen your tears. The one who broke your heart will face justice. But first, you must find us. Come to the forest. Come to the place where the 3 paths meet. Come at midnight when the moon is highest. Adoma looked around wildly. No one was there. Was she going mad from grief? But the heat inside her would not go away. And in the morning, when she went to wake her grandmother, she found the old woman cold and still. The only family she had left was gone. Now she had nothing. Now she had no one. And somewhere deep inside her, something ancient was beginning to wake up. The village buried Adoma's grandmother the next day. Everyone came to show respect, even those who had whispered about her foolishness with the city man. After the funeral, Adoma walked home alone. The sun was setting. The heat inside her was growing stronger, pulling her toward the forest. She remembered the voice. The place where 3 paths meet. Midnight. She told herself it was just grief playing tricks on her mind. But as darkness fell, she found herself walking toward the forest edge. Her feet moved on their own, carrying her past the last houses, past the farms, into the darkness of the trees. The forest at night was full of sounds. Crickets sang. Owls called. Something large moved in the bushes nearby. But Adoma was not afraid. The heat inside her burned away all fear. She walked until she reached the place where 3 paths crossed. An old kapok tree stood there, its massive roots spreading across the ground like the fingers of a giant. Adoma sat down beneath the tree and waited. The moon climbed higher in the sky. Midnight approached. And then, without warning, the ground began to shake. The ground shook so violently that Adoma fell forward, grabbing onto the kapok tree's roots to keep from tumbling over. From the 3 paths, 3 figures emerged, not walking, but gliding just above the ground. They were old, older than the oldest person Adoma had ever seen. Their skin was like bark, their eyes like burning coals, and their bodies glowed with the same light that would later shock the entire village. Do not be afraid, daughter, the first figure spoke, and its voice was the sound of many drums beating together. You called us with your tears, the second figure added, its voice like rushing water. And we have come, the third finished, its voice like wine through the leaves. Adoma's whole body trembled. The ancestors. You are real. We have always been real, the first ancestor said. But the people forgot us. They stopped coming to the shrine. They stopped leaving offerings. We became like whispers in an empty house. But your pain was so great, the second continued, that it reached us even in the spirit world. A heart broken so completely creates a sound that cannot be ignored. Adoma thought of Kwame. Of his promises. Of his new wife. Of the 2 years she had wasted waiting. The anger rose in her chest again, hot and fierce. I want him to pay, she said through clenched teeth. I want him to suffer like I suffered. The 3 ancestors looked at each other. Revenge is a fire that burns the one who holds it, the 3rd ancestor said gently. Then let me burn. Adoma cried. I have nothing left anyway. My grandmother is dead. My heart is dead. What else is there? The ancestors were silent for a long moment. The forest sound stopped. Even the wind held its breath. There is another way, the first ancestor finally said. The old way. The way of the shrine keepers. We can give you power, Adoma. Power to right wrongs. Power to protect the innocent. But this power comes with a price. What price? Adoma asked, though she did not care. She would have paid anything. You must become our voice on earth. You must rebuild the shrine. You must remind the people that we are still here. And you must use your power only for justice, never for selfish revenge. Adoma thought about this. She wanted revenge. She wanted to make Kwame pay. But if having power meant she could also protect others from having their hearts broken like hers, maybe that was enough. I accept, she said. The ancestors raised their hands. The glow around them grew brighter and brighter until Adoma had to close her eyes. The heat inside her exploded outward, filling every part of her body. She felt like she was burning and freezing at the same time. She felt like she was dying and being born again. When she opened her eyes, the ancestors were gone. But she could still feel them, inside her, around her, everywhere. She could feel the whole village sleeping. She could feel the animals in the forest. She could feel the very earth breathing beneath her feet. And she could feel Kwame, far away in Accra, sleeping next to his wife in their nice city house. Wait for me, Adoma whispered into the darkness. I am coming. 3 months passed. Adoma did not go to Accra right away. The ancestors had given her tasks to complete first. She rebuilt the old shrine at the place where the 3 paths met. The villagers watched her walk day after day, carrying stones, clearing weeds, repairing the thatched roof. Some thought she had gone mad from grief. Others whispered that they had seen strange lights around her at night. Adoma did not care what they thought. She had found purpose. She had found power. And she was learning to use it. The ancestors taught her many things. How to heal sickness with herbs. How to see things happening far away. How to call rain from the sky. How to know when someone was lying. You are ready, the ancestors finally told her one evening. Go to Accra. Confront the one who broke your promise. But remember, justice, not revenge. Adoma nodded. She understood the difference now. Revenge would make her like Kwame. Justice would make her something more. The journey to Accra took 5 hours by bus. Adoma had never left Aburi before, and the city overwhelmed her at first, the noise, the crowds, the tall buildings pressing against the sky. But the ancestors were with her. Their presence calmed her heart and cleared her mind. She found Kwame's house easily. The address was on one of his old letters, still tucked under her pillow with all the others. It was a nice house in a nice neighborhood, with a yellow gate and flowers growing in the front. Adoma stood outside the gate for a long time, watching. She saw Kwame leave for work in the morning. She saw his wife Ifya go to the market in the afternoon. She saw them laugh together in the evening, sitting on their porch. Each laugh was a knife in Adoma's heart. But she did not act. Not yet. The ancestors had taught her patience. Justice would come at the right time. That right time came on a Sunday afternoon. Kwame and Ifya were hosting a big party at their house. All their city friends were there, eating meat and drinking beer and laughing loudly about things that were not funny. Adoma walked up to the yellow gate and pushed it open. She wore a simple white dress, the same one she had worn to her grandmother's funeral. Her feet were bare. Her hair was uncovered. A man at the gate tried to stop her. "Hey, you. Where do you think you're going?" Adoma looked at him. Just looked. And the man froze, his mouth open, his eyes wide. He could not move. He could not speak. He could only watch as she walked past him toward the house. Kwame was at the center of the party, telling a story, waving his hands around. When he saw Adoma walking toward him, his face went pale as ash. "You," he whispered. Everyone at the party stopped talking. They turned to look at the village girl in the white dress, standing in the middle of their fancy party. "Hello, Kwame," Adoma said calmly. "I came to collect what you owe me." Ifya stepped forward, her face angry. "Who is this village girl?" "Kwame, who is she?" But Kwame could not answer. His mouth opened and closed like a fish pulled from water. "I am the girl he promised to marry," Adoma said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I am the girl he made wait for 2 years while he wrote letters full of lies. I am the girl he dumped like rubbish so he could marry someone with city money." The guests whispered among themselves. Ifya's face twisted with shock and anger. "Is this true?" Ifya demanded. "You promised to marry a village girl while you were courting me." Kwame found his voice. "It was nothing, Ifya. Just a village thing. It didn't mean anything." Adoma felt the heat rising inside her. The ancestors whispered in her ear. "Patience, daughter. Justice is coming." "You are right," Adoma said. "It meant nothing to you. But it meant everything to me. I loved you, Kwame. I waited for you. I believed your promises. And you threw me away like I was nothing." She took a step closer. The guests gasped and moved back. Something was happening to Adoma. A soft light began to glow around her body. "What is this?" Ifya screamed. "What is happening?" Kwame fell to his knees. "Please, Adoma. Please don't hurt me. I'll give you money. I'll give you anything." "I don't want your money," Adoma said, her voice growing deeper, stronger. "I want justice." The light grew brighter. Adoma felt herself lifting off the ground, just slightly. The ancestors were with her now, filling her with their power. Everyone in the party could see it. Everyone in the party could feel it. And that was when Adoma raised her hand and spoke the words that would change everything. "Kwame Mensah, you broke a sacred promise. You crushed an innocent heart. The ancestors have seen your crime. Now you will face their judgment." The judgment came in 3 parts. First, Kwame's money disappeared. Not slowly, but instantly. One moment his bank accounts were full. The next moment they were empty. Gone. Vanished. The ancestors had returned it to people he had cheated in business over the years. Second, his friends abandoned him. The same people who had been laughing at his party now looked at him with disgust. They saw him for what he really was, a liar, a promise breaker, a man with no honor. One by one, they walked out, leaving him alone with his terrified wife. Third, and worst of all, Ifya left him. Right there, in front of everyone, she took off her wedding ring and threw it at his feet. "You lied to me," she said coldly. "You made me marry a man who could break a village girl's heart so easily." What makes me think you won't break mine? She walked out of the house and never came back. Kwame sat on the floor of his empty house, his money gone, his friends gone, his wife gone, and cried like a baby. But no one came to comfort him. No one would ever trust him again. Adoma returned to Aburi that same night. The ancestors were pleased with her. You chose justice over revenge, they told her. You did not harm him physically. You did not kill him. You simply showed everyone who he really was. That is true justice. The villagers welcomed Adoma back as a hero. Word had spread about what happened in Accra. Travelers brought the story, adding details with each telling until it became legend. The ancestors have returned. A village girl became their voice. The city man got what he deserved. Adoma became the new shrine keeper of Aburi. People came from far and wide to seek her help, her wisdom, her connection to the spirit world. She helped settle disputes. She healed sicknesses. She protected the innocent and exposed the guilty. And she never loved again. Not because she could not, but because she chose not to. Her heart belonged to the ancestors now, and to the people she served. 5 years passed. The shrine at the place where 3 paths meet became famous throughout the region. Pilgrims came to leave offerings and seek guidance. Adoma grew in wisdom and power, becoming known far and wide as the shrine mother of Aburi. Kwame, meanwhile, became a cautionary tale. He tried to rebuild his life, but no one would do business with him. No woman would marry him. He moved from the city back to a small town, then to a smaller village, always running from his reputation. Eventually, he ended up in a village not far from Aburi. He lived alone in a small mud house, farming cassava to survive. Every night, he dreamed of the girl he had promised to marry and the ancestors who had judged him. Some said he went mad in the end. Others said he found peace. But everyone agreed on one thing: he never broke another promise for as long as he lived. One evening, as the sun set orange and red behind the Baobab trees, Adoma sat at the shrine, feeling the presence of the ancestors around her. She was older now, with streaks of grey in her hair and wisdom in her eyes. A young girl approached, trembling. She could not have been more than 16. "Shrine mother," the girl whispered. "Please help me. There is a boy in my village. He promised to marry me. He said he loves me. But my grandmother says city boys lie. She says I should not trust him." Adoma looked at the girl for a long moment. She remembered being that girl. She remembered the hope, the waiting, the heartbreak. "Sit down, my daughter," Adoma said gently. "Let me tell you a story. A story about a village girl, a city boy, and the ancestors who never forget." The girl sat. Adoma began to speak. And somewhere in the spirit world, the ancestors smiled. Because justice had been served. Balance had been restored. And a new generation was learning the old ways, the ways of truth, of honor, of promises that must never be broken. But even as Adoma told her story to the young girl, a strange feeling crept into her heart. The ancestors, who had been with her constantly for 5 years, suddenly fell silent. She looked up at the sky. The stars were blinking out, one by one. Something was coming. Something the ancestors had not prepared her for. Something old and powerful and hungry. The girl noticed her distress. "Shrine mother. What is wrong?" Adoma stood up slowly, her eyes fixed on the darkness gathering at the edge of the forest. The heat that had lived inside her for 5 years suddenly turned cold. "Go home," she told the girl urgently. "Go home now and do not come out until morning." "But what about my problem?" the girl asked. "Your problem can wait. Run. Now." The girl ran. Adoma turned to face the darkness. The ancestors had not spoken, but she could feel their fear. If ancestors could be afraid, then whatever was coming was terrible indeed. From the darkness, two red eyes opened. A voice, older than the ancestors themselves, spoke. Shrine Mother. You have done well with the power they gave you. But that power was never theirs to give. It belongs to me. And I have come to take it back. Adoma's blood turned to ice. The ancestors had told her many things, but they had never told her about this. They had never told her about the one who came before them. The one they had defeated long ago. The one who had been waiting, all these years, for his chance to return. The red eyes moved closer. Adoma reached for the ancestors' power, but found nothing. They had abandoned her. Or worse, they had been taken. She was alone. The shrine, once a place of safety and light, now felt like a trap. The K-pop tree's roots seemed to reach for her like fingers. The three paths led only to darkness. I have waited so long, the voice hissed. So long for a shrine keeper powerful enough to interest me. The others were too weak. But you, Adoma, you are full to bursting with ancestor power. When I consume you, I will be strong enough to walk the earth again. Adoma's mind raced. She had no power now. No ancestors to call upon. No weapon except her wits and her courage. The red eyes were almost upon her. And then, from somewhere deep inside, she remembered something her grandmother had told her when she was small. When the ancestors seem far away, child, look closer. They are never farther than your own heartbeat. Adoma closed her eyes. She stopped trying to reach outward and started looking inward. Deep inside herself, in the place where her grief had once burned so hot, she found a spark. Not ancestor power. Something older. Something that was hers alone. Her own spirit. Her own strength. Her own light. The red eyes stopped. What are you doing? The voice demanded. That is not ancestor power. That is something else. That is impossible. Adoma opened her eyes. She was glowing, but not with borrowed light. This light was hers, born from her pain, her survival, her choice to seek justice instead of revenge. This is me, she said quietly. This is who I have always been. The ancestors did not give me power. They just helped me find what was already inside. The red eyes screamed, a terrible sound that shook the forest and cracked the earth. No. This cannot be. The humans forgot this power long ago. Some of us remembered, Adoma said. She raised her hand, and the light that burst forth was brighter than the sun, brighter than 1,000 ancestors, brighter than anything the darkness had ever seen. When the light faded, the red eyes were gone. The darkness at the edge of the forest was gone. Even the ancestors' silence was gone. She could feel them again, weak but present, hiding in the spirit world where they had fled. And standing before her, barely visible in the moonlight, were three figures. The ancestors. But they looked different now, smaller, humbler, almost shy. Forgive us, the first ancestor said. We ran. We were afraid. We did not know he would come for you, the second added. We forgot that the oldest darkness never truly dies, the third whispered. Adoma looked at them, these beings she had served for 5 years, who had once seemed so powerful, now cowering before her. You gave me a gift, she said. You helped me when I had nothing. I will not forget that. But from now on, things will be different. She walked past them and sat down at the shrine, her shrine now, not theirs. The power inside her hummed contentedly, waiting to be used. Sit with me, she told the ancestors. Let us talk about the old days. Let us remember together. And let us figure out how to make sure that darkness never returns. The ancestors sat. For the first time in thousands of years, they listened instead of spoke. And in the village of Aburi, the people slept peacefully, unaware that their shrine mother had just become something new, something the world had not seen in ages. A true guardian. Not because of borrowed power, but because of who she had always been. The next morning, Adoma woke at the shrine with the sun warm on her face. The ancestors were gone, but she could feel them nearby, watching, waiting. The young girl from the night before returned, peeking through the trees. Shrine Mother. Are you okay? What happened last night? Adoma smiled. Nothing that concerns you, my daughter. Now, tell me about this boy who promised to marry you. The girl sat down, relief flooding her face. And life in Aburi continued, as it always had, as it always would. But something had changed. Something deep and permanent. The ancestors were no longer the most powerful force in the village. Adoma was. Thanks for subscribing, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks.